Okay, I know I started Farm Boy, but I left it at school. So I thought we would go with Kaspar, Prince of Cats, which is by the same author, and I think the pictures are nicer in this one, so let's make a start. Okay. Prince Kaspar Kandinsky first came to the Savoy Hotel in a basket. I know, because I carried him in. I think Prince Kaspar might be the cat. Look, there he is in the cat basket. Meow, 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 meow. I know this because I was the one who carried him in. I carried in all the Countess's luggage that morning, and I can tell you she had an awful lot of it. But I was a bellboy, so that was my job. To carry luggage, to open doors, to say good morning to every guest I met, to see to their every need, from polishing their boots to bringing them telegrams. In whatever I did, I had to smile at them very politely, but the smile had to be more respectful than friendly. And I had to remember all their names and titles too, which was not at all easy because there were always new guests arriving. Most importantly though, as a bellboy, which, by the way, was just about the lowest of the low at the hotel, I had to do whatever the guests asked me to do right away. In fact, I was at almost everyone's beck and call. It was, "Jump to it, Johnny," or "Be sharp about it, boy," or "Lickety-split, do that, yada yada." They'd click their fingers at me, and I jumped to it lickety-split, I can tell you, particularly if Mr. Blaze, the head housekeeper, was on the prowl. Oh, Mrs. Blaze, the head housekeeper, was on the prowl. We could always hear her coming, because she rattled like a skeleton on the move. This was on account of a huge bunch of keys that hung from her waist. Look. And a picture of her there. And there are her keys. She had a voice as loud as a trombone, and she was very angry. We lived in constant fear of her. Mrs. Blaze liked to be called Madame, but on the servants' corridor at the top of the hotel, where we all lived, the bellboys that is, chambermaids, kitchen staff, all lived together, we all called her Skullface, because she didn't just rattle like a skeleton. She looked a lot like one too. We did our very best to keep out of her way. Look at the picture again, now you've heard the description. Ooh, she does look a bit skeleton-y. To her, any misdemeanour, however minor, was a dreadful crime. Slouching, untidy hair, dirty fingernails, yawning on duty. Oh, all these were terrible crimes. And that's just what Skullface had caught me doing that morning just before the Countess arrived. Oh. She'd just come up to me in the lobby, hissing menacingly as she passed. "I saw that yawn, young scallywag, and your cap is set too jaunty. You know how I hate a jaunty cap. Fix it. Yawn again, and I'll have your guts for garters." I was just fixing my cap when I saw the doorman, Mr. Freddy, showing the Countess in. Mr. Freddy clicked his fingers at me. And that was how, a few moments later, I found myself walking through the hotel lobby alongside the Countess carrying her cat basket, with the cat yowling so loudly that soon everyone was staring at us. This cat did not yowl like other cats. It was more like a wailing lament, almost human in its tremulous tunefulness. The Countess, with me at her side, swept up to the reception desk and announced herself in a heavy foreign accent. A Russian accent, as I was due to find out. "I am Countess Kandinsky," she said. I'm not going to attempt the accent. "I am Countess Kandinsky," she said. "You have a suite of rooms for Kaspar and me, I think. There must be a river outside my window, and I must have a piano. I sent you a telegram with all my requirements." The Countess spoke as if she was used to have people listening to her, and as if she was used to being obeyed. There were so many people who came in through the doors of the Savoy, the rich, the famous, and the infamous, business magnates, lords and ladies, even prime ministers and presidents. I don't mind admitting that I never much cared for their haughtiness and their arrogance, but I learned very soon that if I hid my feelings well enough behind my smile, If I played my cards right, some of them could give me very big tips, particularly the Americans. Just smile and wag your tail. That's what Mr. Freddy told me to do. He'd been working at the Savoy as a doorman for close on 20 years, so he knew a thing or two. It was good advice. However the guest treated me, I learned to smile back and behave like a willing puppy dog. The first time I met Countess Kandinsky, I thought she was just another rich aristocrat. But there was something I admired about her from the start. She didn't just walk to the lift, she sailed. Magnificently, her skirts rustling in the wake, her white ostrich feathers in her hat wafting out behind her like pennants in a breeze. Everyone, including Skullface, I'm glad to say, was bobbing curtsies or bowing heads as we passed by, and all the time I found myself basking unashamedly in the Countess's aura, in her grace and grandeur. I suddenly felt centre stage and important. As a 14-year-old bellboy, abandoned as an orphan on the steps of an orphanage in Islington when I was an infant, I had not many opportunities to feel so important. So by the time we all got into the lift, the Countess, myself, and the cat, still wailing in the basket, I was feeling very cock-a-hoop. I suppose it must have showed. "Why are you smiling like this?" The Countess frowned at me, ostrich feathers shaking as she spoke. I could hardly tell her the truth, so I had to think. "It's because of your cat, Countess," I replied. "She sounds funny." "Not she, and he is not my cat," she said. "Kaspar is no one's cat. He is the prince of cats. He is Prince Kaspar Kandinsky, and a prince belongs to no one, not even a countess." She smiled at me then. "I tell you something. I like when you smile. English people do not smile so often as they should. They do not laugh, they do not cry. This is a great mistake. We Russians, when we want to laugh, we laugh. When we want to cry, we cry. Prince Kaspar is a Russian cat, and at this moment he is a very unhappy cat, so he cries. This is natural, I think." "But why is he so unhappy?" I found myself asking her. "Because he is angry with me. He likes to stay in my house in Moscow. He does not like to travel. I tell him, 'How can I go to sing in opera in London if we do not travel?' He does not listen. When we travel, he always makes a big fuss, a big noise. When I let him out of his basket, he will be happy again. I will show you." Sure enough, the moment Kaspar climbed out of the basket in the Countess's sitting room, he fell completely silent. He tested the carpet with one paw. And then leapt nimbly out and began at once to explore. That was when I first understood just why the Countess called him the Prince of Cats. From his whiskers to his paws, he was black, all over jet black, and sleek and shiny and beautiful. And he knew he was beautiful too. He moved like silk, his head held high, his tail swishing as he went. I was about to leave the room to fetch the rest of her luggage when the Countess called me back, as guests often did when they were about to give me a tip. Because of her title and her ostrich feathers and all the fine luggage she had arrived with, I was hopeful by now that the tip might be a generous one. But as it turned out, she didn't want to give me a tip at all. "Your name. I wish to know your name," she said, removing her hat with a flourish. "Johnny Trot, Countess," I told her. She laughed at that, but I didn't mind, because I could tell at once that she was not mocking me. "That is a very funny name," she said. "But who knows? Maybe for you Kandinsky is a funny name too." Picture of the cat there. There he is, Prince Kaspar. Meow meow. Sort of the luggage. By this time Kaspar had leapt up onto the sofa. He sprang off again almost at once, and went to sharpen his claws, first on the curtain, and then on one of the armchairs. After that he went on a tour of the room, behind the desk, under the piano, on top of the window ledge, for all the world like a prince examining his new palace, claiming it before settling down on the armchair by the fireplace, where he gazed up at us both. blinking his eyes slowly and then licking himself, purring contentedly as he did so. Clearly the prince approved of his palace. "He's a very smart-looking cat," I said. "Smart? Smart? Kaspar is not smart, Johnny Trot." The Countess was clearly not at all pleased with my description of her cat. "He is beautiful. The most beautiful cat in all of Russia, in all of England, in all of the world. There is no other cat like Prince Kaspar. He is not smart. He is magnificent. You agree, Johnny Trot?" I nodded hurriedly. I could hardly argue. "You wish to stroke him?" she asked me. I crouched down by the chair, reached out my hand tentatively, and stroked his purring chest with the back of my finger, but only for a second or two. I sensed that, for the moment, this was all he would allow. "I think maybe he likes you," said the Countess. "With Prince Kaspar, if you are not a friend, you are an enemy. He did not scratch you, so I think you must be a friend." We should leave it there for now. That's Prince Kaspar.